I, 30 female, have an identical twin sister, and for the purpose of anonymity, I'll call her Jess. Jess and I look so much alike it can be freaky. At one point when we were still infants, they had to draw a little dot on the bottom of one of our feet just so they could keep track of who was who for medical reasons. My mom adored the fact that Jess and I were cute baby twin girls and treated us as precious dolls who she would frequently dress alike and always make us do things together. At first, I didn't mind it at all because it was my normal and I do genuinely love my sister, but when we started getting older, I developed my own interest. I would get so frustrated or upset when I either couldn't do something because Jess didn't want to, or the only other way I could do it is if Jess could come with me and vice versa. It sucked because despite our appearances, Jess was the more extroverted twin who liked to go to parties and do sports, while I was introverted and artistic. I was always made to do what Jess wanted to do because me not wanting to be social was seen as bad, and the only way that Jess would agree or endure my hobbies was if I did her homework or chores. When my parents were divorcing, I was over the moon when my dad agreed to let me live with him in another state, and Jess didn't want to move away from all of her friends. My mom cried when I had to tell her I didn't want to live with her and Jess accused me of hating them. This really wrecked me emotionally and I almost caved, but my dad got me into therapy who helped me gather the courage to just leave. I never really did shake off the guilt until around senior year of high school, but I never once regretted my choice because of how liberating I felt by getting to just be me. I was slowly able to repair my relationship with my mom and Jess, but Jess and I were never as close as we used to be, and I was honestly fine with that. Fast forward to adulthood and Jess is engaged to her boyfriend Steve, 36 male, and their wedding is set for this spring. Unfortunately, Jess was recently in a bad accident and her face is going to need to get cosmetic surgery. She has been crying on and off for days over this because there's no way she'll be healed up in time for the wedding. My mom, Steve, and I have been trying to console her, but it's not enough. Earlier this week, my mom approached me with the idea of dressing up as Jess and pretending to be her for the ceremony and reception so the pictures will look nice. I was floored and gave a hesitant no because while I do know that this would mean a lot to my sister, I just really felt uncomfortable about it. My mom was upset with me and said that it wasn't a big deal, it was just for the pictures, and asked me if I really wanted to make it so that Jess would have to be reminded of her trauma whenever she had to look at her wedding photos or just not have any photos at all. So am I the asshole? She has an update to some questions people had. Jess and Steve's wedding is booked at their dream venue, and if they postpone it, which is in about 3 weeks, they won't be able to book again until around 2025. And families on both sides are coming from out of state. Apparently, between the wedding costs and needing to save up for cosmetic surgery, Steve and Jess don't have the money to pay for professional Photoshop. We live in America, and as far as I know, since Jess's surgery is purely for cosmetic purposes, health insurance may not cover it, if any at all. My mom was the only one who actually approached me about this, so I don't know for sure if Jess and Steve know about this idea. And I'm honestly a little scared of actually talking to them about this in case they're on board and start to pressure me into agreeing. My son will inherit everything. His affair baby will receive absolutely nothing. My name is Emil, 26, and I have a 5-year-old son. My ex-husband, 29, cheated on me with his coworker, Bethany, 28. I was 2 months pregnant with our second child when I found out Bethany was going to have his child. I miscarried. My ex left the house to be with her. It's been 2 years since it was born. My mother-in-law has been supportive of me and has nothing to do with my ex or his mistress and their child, up until a few months ago. I adore my in-laws and we're extremely close. My mother-in-law and parents are the best of friends. She loves me and her grandson more than anything. This infuriates my ex-husband's affair partner. My in-laws cut contact with them straight away. Bethany was jealous that her child would never know the love of grandparents. At least her son has a father. This brings us to the problem. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law has been very ill for a while and so she's updated her will. My ex-husband was an only child, so he would get everything. But now, my son will inherit her house, villa, and money. I will receive a large portion of her money and all of her belongings. Until my son turns 18, it will be in my trust, and if I pass before that, my parents will take care of it. They do not know this. You know, it's so refreshing to see the mother-in-law take the daughter-in-law side. You would think it'd be common sense to like push away the cheater, right? Even if it's your own son, but a lot of people have a hard time because it's their kin and their flesh and blood. They're like, I'm going to stick by my son, right or wrong. But I have so much respect for this mother-in-law for taking care of her grandson and her daughter-in-law. That's so sweet to see. Like, I love good mother-in-law stories. Okay. The thing is, once they caught wind of her being ill, my ex-husband begged for forgiveness. The mistress started being nice towards her and forced her to be around his baby. She used to start fights with mother-in-law and called her horrible names before. My mother-in-law is bedbound, but she says she wants to leave with a bang, so she'll endure this. I haven't encouraged her to do anything, and this is her choice alone. They want her money, and her son thinks he is still included in the will. He also thinks his child will now be acknowledged by his grandmother and will also receive money. Now, my mother-in-law hasn't actually said she's forgiven them. She despises her son and his mistress for tearing apart our family. She wants to reward those who deserve it and get revenge in one go. The mistress keeps on hinting on how her child will grow up and attend a great college, etc. Money-involved things whenever she's around mother-in-law. Actually, mother-in-law's niece, my cousin by marriage, has overheard her on the phone discussing what wallpaper she wants in the dining room when she moves in and how my mother-in-law has no taste whatsoever. She also mentioned how she'll finally be able to take down pictures of my son when my ex owns the house. Ew, disgusting. Too bad for her, it will belong to my son. No changes will be made until my son becomes 18. It's his grandmother's home and he should be allowed to cherish it in the way she's decorated it. I'm not really allowed to tell anyone, and though this revenge will be satisfying, I'll have to lose my mother-in-law. It's kind of a win-lose situation, and I dread the day when she'll take her last breath. She means a lot to me. I love her. She wants this for her grandson and has said that she cannot rest until she knows her son and his mistress have been punished. She wants this because her childhood was also ruined because of her father and his affair partner. She wants my son to know he was loved and he will always be loved. I hope my son will always value the great woman in his life. I wish he had more time with his grandmother. So she has an edit because apparently some people are angry at her for not asking her mother-in-law to include the affair baby in the will. So this is what she says. As for those who are angry at me for not asking mother-in-law to include my ex's new child, I cannot do anything about that. Yes, I am happy and that's selfish, but I'm going to put myself and my son first. That contributed to my miscarriage and one of the reasons why my son has not had a father for over 2 years. I can't change my mother-in-law's mind about them. I do pity the baby, but it's not up to me to fend for it. It's not my responsibility. I've tried talking to mother-in-law, but she's had her whole childhood ruined because her father made his affair child his top priority. This is why she wants nothing to do with it or her son. My ex knows that his mom went through so much because of cheaters, yet he decided to do the same to her. He has seen his grandfather favor his aunt and uncle over his mother. If this happened to you, you wouldn't be so happy about sharing yet another thing with the baby. Thank you again for those who have listened to me, and I've read out the nice comments to my mother-in-law, and we've had a great laugh together. The mistress would send me photos of her ultrasound after I miscarried, either to me or my family. In the first envelope, she sent a letter full of the nastiest things about me, my son, and my miscarried baby. She'd even tagged me on social media on an account I didn't know about. It was an invitation to her baby shower. She has done plenty of disgusting and hurtful things to me regarding my miscarried baby. The people who are coming at me in the comments would not be as civil as me if anything like that happened to them. Ignoring her child is honestly the best option. I do not want my son to grow up with her son. And to those who are insulting and saying rude things about my dying mother-in-law, you are truly disgusting. Am I wrong for deciding not to attend a wedding? I feel like I'm eating crazy pills because the situation feels surreal, but it's actually happening. And I'd like a perspective on it. Real names change for privacy purposes. I've had a friend, Clara. Is it Clara or Clara? I'm gonna go Clara. I've had a friend, Clara, and we've been close since we met. She is struggling with some mental health issues, and I've always been there for her and helped her out where I can. We also share a lot of our personal lives and stories with each other. Early last year, I met a guy, let's call him Brad. Brad was quite alright, and we hit it off as we had a few common topics we shared. Making new friends was always a good thing, and I wanted to introduce him into my circle of friends too. Unfortunately, Brad and Clara got into an extremely heated argument. It was something completely dumb to me. Something about whether a gun would defend you if the attacker had a knife or sword, but had the element of surprise. It escalated so bad that they were calling each other terrible names, and I was shocked since I had never seen either of them act this way before. They parted on extremely bad terms despite my best attempt at brokering the peace. Over the next couple of days, I tried to talk to Clara and get them to make up, but she was adamant about the situation being final and even gave me an ultimatum. Either I break off all contact with him or she will break off contact with me. I gave her another 2 days to cool off, but there was no change. I valued her and knew her longer, so I reluctantly chose her. I was candid with Brad, explained the situation, that I had nothing against him. No, that is such a okay, that's a really bad manipulative friend. This reminds me of Love is Blind. She does this often when her mental state worsens and shuts herself in for some time. I sent a few messages to check on her well-being but didn't get a reply. This time was much longer than previously, but I thought nothing of it, having given her the option to come back whenever she was ready. 2 weeks ago, she returned after several months and announced her engagement to Brad.
Am I wrong for not letting my girlfriend wear a bikini in front of my family? So me, 26 male, and my girlfriend, 22 female, have been dating for 2 years. We've had our ups and downs, but overall we have a great relationship and I see a future together. The thing is, we come from two different backgrounds. I have a Muslim background and she is white. However, we still have made it work and our similarities are much more than our differences. Now, my girlfriend does like wearing short clothing when out and about, which did bother me at first and made me uncomfortable, but I have came to terms with it. But recently an embarrassing situation happened at my cousin's house. My cousin held a pool party and my parents were there too. Am I wrong for not letting my girlfriend wear a bikini in front of my family? So once again, I come from a Muslim background and she is white. There was a pool party at my cousin's house and my parents were there too. I recently introduced my girlfriend to my parents as well, so this was a good time for her to meet my family and relatives. I specifically asked her to pack something more on the modest side as my family would be there. She didn't give much of a response and just nodded. But what did I see in the pool? Her wearing a two-piece bikini, which was kind of a cheeky bottom too. Even a one-piece would have been better, but nah, she went all in this time. No one said anything afterwards, but I was so embarrassed. I couldn't even show my face to my parents at all. Her response was, I can wear what I want.